Christina Ferrari joins us, and this is really cool. Before entering law, she was a biomedical researcher in the fields of neurosurgery and other areas, and she now focuses on trying to help businesses and different healthcare practice groups and businesses kind of litigate, kind of work through differences. And Christina joins us, GMI Studios. Good morning.
Good morning, Jack. Thanks for having me.
That's a pretty cool background. What made you want to first get into the biomed area and then get into the legal area?
It's a unique path, I'll tell you. I cannot tell you how many jokes I get about it now. You know, I used to work with rats when I was doing my biomedical research, and so now I get a few jokes about it. But I've always been interested in science and medicine, even when I was a little kid, and I studied it all throughout college and graduate school, and I ended up doing a program down at Boston University School of Medicine that was kind of unique. You do your first year of med school classes and then your second year doing research. And at the end, you usually go into a full-time medical program or a full-time PhD program. And I loved the work I was doing. I was studying neurosurgery techniques, and we were working with, rats as a model. And I became, unfortunately, very allergic to the animals that I was working with. Sometimes that happens. Yeah.
Wow.
Unfortunately, or fortunately now, I mean, I'm on the path now, and I wouldn't change it, but it happens if you're around them so long. And, it got to the point where I had to change careers. The work that I was doing, you work with rodents in some regard. There's not a lot of other things in the work that I was doing that you can work with. So
I think it's fascinating. And sometimes, Christina, there are omens and signs, right? Maybe it was a sign.
Yes.
But, it's interesting. I'm going to switch to the last couple of years and all the state of flux that healthcare and businesses have had to operate in. Before I say that, I have to just say that I think your background's fascinating, and it makes me even more intrigued. But, here I wound up the groups I've spoken to, they're younger people, and I'll talk to school groups or, you do these mentoring or interviews. And the funny thing, and I've been in media and now my own, talk show for years and television news. And when I was coming out of college, I was pretty much on a track of law enforcement. I was thinking FBI, CIA, FBI, state police, Washington. And it's just funny how things veer you off it. You never know. But let's switch gears.
Exactly.
The last couple of years, and this is a great topic with our friends at Bernstein Shur, Christina Ferrari, last couple of years, state of flux is one way of putting it. Constant. There's been so many changes businesses have had to go through in the private sector with policies and rules and all these things. And they've adapted, they've changed, but I'm sure it's led to a lot of litigation, both from individual employees against an employer. I heard one story, I won't say the media outlet, where remember when a lot of the employers on their own, after the Biden administration said that, companies over a certain size, now this got tossed up by the Supreme Court, but at the time, policies have consequences. Employees have to be fully vaccinated. And we had stories in Massachusetts, for example, the state police, the sworn state police. They were younger. They didn't feel they needed to do that. They told the governor in the state. They actually went to litigation. But a lot of employers, and there was one media outlet I know that had a very successful business representative working for them. She had a legitimate health condition, and the CDC said this is an exemption. But they said, nope, if you want to continue working here, you got to be fully vaccinated, and they fired her. So imagine there's a lot of this going on. Tell us about it and how you kind of bring the groups together to move on and litigate and solve it and, kind of end it.
Right, exactly. No, it is an area, there's a lot of flux, like you said, and it really affects a lot of different businesses in different areas. And the tricky part for everybody is that the environment, so all the regulations and rules and laws that a company would have to follow, regardless of what industry they are in, rapidly changing, sometimes by the day. And so it's really hard to keep up with that. And my practice is unique in the sense that I spend most of my time as a litigator. So if someone is sued or is bringing a lawsuit against someone, I'm on one side or the other advocating for my client and trying to resolve it, mostly on the defense side, but not always. But the other part of my practice is really on the flip side. As a litigator, I see how things go wrong and how disputes arise. But in my other side of things, I'm really trying to prevent those things from happening. So I'm counseling businesses on how to avoid litigation, how to manage risk, and that becomes really important in an environment like this, like we're facing right now. how do you take certain actions, especially as we're hopefully emerging out of this pandemic, to reduce your risk and maybe pay attention to some of these things as a preventative measure,
right,
so that you don't have issues. And you don't end up caught in a situation where you're trying to follow all the rules and regulations and laws and do the right thing and operate your business at the same time, but it's really hard to figure out what you should be doing because everything's changing.
Christina, do you recommend to your clients' businesses, whether they're healthcare, private business, any kind of business, be proactive versus complacent?
Yes, this is a perfect opportunity right now to change your mindset if you're a company from reactive to the proactive. There's this old saying that says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and that's really true. There's a lot of competing demands on companies right now, but now is the perfect time to kind of do a checkup and look and see, okay, let's look at some of the low-hanging fruit and make sure that we are protecting ourselves so that we can conduct our business going forward and not have to worry and stay up late at night that we're going to be caught in a situation where we're not following, the regulations that apply to us, or our contracts are not protecting us enough, things like that. It's really a perfect time to do that.
What about
and that's something I work with.
What about opportunity? Yep. Does change create opportunity?
Yes, it absolutely does. And this is an equal opportunity. So every business is hitting the reset button in some regard right now. So if you're taking time out to look at your contracts, for example, and make sure that there are provisions in your contracts that are fair and that are protecting you, you're likely not losing out any competitive edge if you take that time to do that, and you're investing in your future because everybody's hitting the reset button. So you're really positioning your company for growth, and you're really going to protect yourself, which is going to be much less expensive in the future. I mean, as a litigator, I love it. It's what I'm trained to do, but it is time-consuming, it is expensive, and it is stressful. And it's much better for a business, if you can, to reduce risk and hopefully avoid that in the future, which is what I spend a lot of my time doing right now.
Well, again, great expertise, Bernstein Shur Group and Christina Ferrari. By the way, not only a great medical background, great legal practice now to help businesses litigate, to be proactive, to take these constant state of flux and look upon them as an equal opportunity. But also your last name, people might think you make really cool sports cars. No, I'm kidding, Christina. Hey, listen, what's the best way if you're a business, if I'm a business owner out there, CEO, COO, HR person listening to this, and our friends and great sponsors, one of our great sponsors, Bernstein Shur, to contact you individually to say, kind of got these things brewing. I'm not sure what I should do. Can you take a look at this? What's the best way to reach out to you?
Absolutely. You can call me directly. It's 603-665-8827. That's my direct line. You can also email me. It's Ferrari, just like the car, like you said, at bernsteinshur.com. I'm happy to speak with everybody. It's something that can be done pretty easily and not as expensive as people would think. You could do it in stages as well.
Awesome.
And I'd be happy to speak with anybody.